Hello everybody, welcome back to this Altergeist video. It's been a long time, there's been quite a few changes where the deck's barely changed, but it's also changed a lot all at the same time, if that makes sense. So there's not much to it other than to just get into it. So this is the deck which I've been using and that I've settled on at the moment as the best version of Altergeist that I can come up with. So there's a few things to talk about. We've got the skill choice, because we've got new skills that have come out since level 5 reload. Why am I still using level 5 reload? We've got a Pook is absolutely amazing. I'll talk about it when I get to it. What did I cut for it? I'm running 2 magical dimensions instead of the one just before, and Meluseek came off the limit list, so why are these the limit 3s which I'm running? And of course we've got a memory Gant. So let's just go top down. We'll start with level 5 reload. So level 5 reload, just as a quick refresher, in case somebody doesn't know, when it says level 5 monster here, it basically means Altergeist Concurrent. That's our only target. So, return Altergeist Concurrent from your hand to your deck and draw 1 card. You cannot use a skill on your next turn. This skill can be used once per turn if you have not used the effect of a monster whose original level is 5. This wording is really ambiguous. It means in the same turn, and we almost never use Altergeist Concurrent in the same turn as we use the skill, so this restriction basically never matters. There's another skill that's kind of similar to it. There's Spellcaster's Exchange. Here we go. This one says at the start of your main phase, place Concurrent from your hand to the bottom of your deck and then draw 1 card. And this can be used twice per duel, but you can use it in 2 consecutive turns. So why do I prefer level 5 reload compared to Spellcaster's Exchange? It's because level 5 reload unbricks more hands than Spellcaster's Exchange because it doesn't have this at the start of your main phase rider. With level 5 reload, you can use Meluseek, link it into whatever, and use the Meluseek to find the Concurrent, then use level 5 reload to put the Concurrent back into your deck and hopefully draw something. If you're doing that, you're normally missing back row, so you can hopefully draw some back row. Whereas if you open with Meluseek and no Concurrent and no back row, then Spellcaster's Exchange isn't going to help, because by the time you find Concurrent, you're no longer at the start of your main phase, you can no longer put it back. It's a very niche case, but it does come up, and that's why I prefer level 5 reload. It just lets you unbrick more hands. What do you lose from level 5 reload compared to Spellcaster's Exchange? It's this upside. In Spellcaster's Exchange, the Concurrent goes on the bottom of your deck, so you're guaranteed to not draw it again. But the chance of drawing Concurrent is like 1 in 16, I think. I mean, let's do it. Yeah, so you're going first, let's say. You've opened 4 cards, 16 cards left in deck. You use the skill, you put the Concurrent back. That's actually a 1 in 17 now, because now there's 17 cards in deck. You've only got a 1 in 17 chance of drawing a Concurrent again. And I'd rather have more hands get unbricked by using level 5 reload than completely eliminate the 1 in 17 chance of getting a Concurrent again. Different people might have different opinions, but this is mine, and this is why I'm going with level 5 reload. There's also the new skill that we've got, which is Altergeist Override. Here we go. This one's kind of funky. So you can only use the second effect if you've got so many Altergeists in your deck and only once per duel. So what it does is at the start of the duel, you get 1000 life points, life point boost alpha, but then also from turn 2 onwards, you can shuffle 1 monster from your field into the deck and then play 1 Altergeist Fiji Alert from outside of your deck to your field and face down defense position. And Fiji Alert just makes me laugh. Look at this thing. This card, this is the most bizarre card in every possible way. The name, what's a Fiji Alert? This is where I found it. It's actually something and I don't know about it. But yes, Fiji Alert. What's going on? What is this? It's got a tail, 4 legs, 2 arms. I don't know what it is. Look at that face. Also, the effect. When an Altergeist Link monster is link summoned to your field, you can target 1 other Link monster on the field. Special summon this card from your hand to your zone that target points to. Also, for the rest of this turn, that monster is also treated as an Altergeist monster. This effect is basically impossible to manipulate and set up by yourself to get just an extender from your hand into play. And then also, you can only use this effect of Altergeist Fiji Alert once per turn. I can't even imagine it happening once. Just setting up a turn, it can happen twice, oh my gosh. But just in case, it would be too broken. So, you don't use the effect once per turn. Every time I think I figured out a use case for Fiji Alert, I remember some other restriction, like you have to summon an Altergeist Link monster to trigger it, but then you have to summon to a different Link monster's arrow. And it's just bizarre. It's utterly bizarre. The only thing I can think of is in Vrains, Ghost Gal, the user of Altergeist, must have had some strange position that they scripted in come up where Fiji Alert could be used and was actually useful. I haven't seen a lot of Vrains though, so I don't really know. But yeah, Fiji Alert, man. Anyway, so the skill gives you a Fiji Alert into play. It doesn't matter that it's a terrible Altergeist. What matters is that it is an Altergeist. And the whole purpose of this skill is you can turn, for example, your Link Karibo or your Artemis into an Altergeist name, which lets you Link climb higher because all of your Altergeist Link monsters require Altergeists as materials. You can also do some cute things with it. You can use Mind Control, for example, to take an opponent's monster, then use Altergeist Overwrite if it's, and then just shuffle it back and you have an Altergeist now. You can use it for Link climbing. So you can turn Mind Control into removal and extension all in one go. In an Altergeist deck, which is a neutral. You could use Crackdown for the same effect. I actually made a deck where I went hard into this part of the skill and tried to steal my opponent's monsters. I used Mind Control as my limit 3 as opposed to Crackdown because I still don't like Crackdown triggering Multi-Faker. You can end up with clogged zones. So I still prefer Mind Control. That was fun. I don't think it was the most competitive build of Altergeist, but it was fun. It was fun to do. And I just happened to go against players, and the matches I had happened to be perfectly countered by me having Mind Control and shuffling away, which was fun. I got rewarded for it. I still don't think it's the best, because you can brick on your Mind Controls. And Crackdowns, you can brick, quote-unquote, on them if they're too slow. Anyway, so... Altergeist Override. I actually did use this to cog with. So, saying level 5 reload is the best skill in my opinion. That's only in a vacuum. Altergeist Overwrite was kind of necessary for me to cog because of the Burst Nern FTK deck that's running around. So the Nurse Burn, the Nurse Burn FTK deck can do it to 6,000 damage to you with their 3 traps. But usually they've used one of their guaranteed heads on a Copper Vase. In one of my COG Ranker matches, they used 2 of the guaranteed heads on Copper Vases, which means that when they had 3 back rows set, I won the 25% chance to not lose the game, basically. Their first one guaranteed did 2,000. The next one, I needed them both to come up tails and do 1,000 each. I got that, so they only did 4,000 to me, and so because I had basically life point boost alpha, this extra 1,000 life points, I won the match. It's the only reason I was running Overwrite. And it did come up. Against most decks nowadays, the extra 1,000 life points is completely irrelevant. They're doing more than enough damage to get past that 5k threshold, almost always. I prefer having the consistency of level 5 reload or Spellcaster's Exchange. Alright, so moving along from the skill, let's move along to the next inclusion, which is Pook. Oh my gosh, Pook. I don't even know how to begin talking about Pook. It does so much. It can do so much for us on turn 1, but especially from turn 2, it just accelerates our game plan like crazy. We can Link climb and look like a combo deck while doing so. So Pook lets you make Link monsters using it as material from your hand. It all has to be Altergeist stuff that's involved. But it's still fantastic. And once per duel, when you Link summon an Altergeist monster and Pook is in your graveyard, you can put Pook from your graveyard back into your hand. Just a nice little bit of advantage. So, for example, it's personal spoofing fodder, or you can use it again next turn. Or if you haven't used your normal summon yet and you don't have another monster, you can normal summon a Pook, use it against Link material again. It's just a nice little piece of advantage tacked onto it. Meluseek can find Pook, which means you can link Meluseek into Hextier, and then find Pook, and then make a link 3 of another Hextier, but you get the Hextier search when you link away the first one, which if you've got some extension, like 1 for 1 for example, or a Magical Dimension, it means that on turn 1, you can make Hextier, get the Pook, make another Hextier, use that to find a manifestation, and that's better than opening a manifestation plus Meluseek. because now you have a Hextia in play rather than a Link Karibo. You have a Manifestation, which can get back a Hextia in the graveyard, so now you have 2 Hexias in play, and then the Multifaker triggers, and you got 2 Hextias that are both live, and you've got a Silquidus, and pointing to, not pointing to, but you got a Silquidus and a Multifaker to return. It's very similar to if you revived Meluseek, because if you want, you can use Silquidus to bounce the Meluseek. Sorry, bounce the Manifestation, which would normally get you a search for Meluseek, but this time you get a search from Hextia instead. It's just the same. It's a lot of flexibility, and it's not something you always open with. It does require these out-of-engine pieces, but it's possible now, and it wasn't always possible before. I mean, it just wasn't possible at all before. Yeah, it can also be gotten with by 1-for-1. So if you need Meluseek to search something else in the turn, then you can get Pook with 1-for-1, and that gives you access to it. Normally, you get Meluseek, and then when Meluseek is linked away, you find the Pook anyway, because it can link from the hand. But like I said, if you already need to use Meluseek to find something else, it is an option. 1-for-1 can find a Pook. Yeah, I think I'll just leave that there for now. It's kind of something you need to see in action to really understand just how good it is. Moving along, let's talk about the Limit 3s, which ones I'm running now that Meluseek is off the Limit 3 list. I'm running, as you can see, Lost Wind and Compulsory Evacuation Device. Something that defined my Altergeist deck list compared to a lot of people's is I so valued the ability to chain your traps to any board state that I would play weaker traps, had less impact, but that I could chain whenever I like, and it gives me maximum control over when I summon Multifaker, and it has more insurance against something like they open MST, or if they have non-targeting back row removal, such as Dingirsu. For example, if you're going first, but you only have 1 back row, but you get your Multifaker access, then if they open with MST, and you have a powerful trap that can't be chained just at any time, then they just MST your trap, you can never summon Multifaker, and you're probably dead. Whereas with a trap you can chain at any time, even if it does basically nothing, you get to summon the Multifaker and you can use that to defend yourself. Sure, you summon Multifaker earlier than you want, but it's better now than never. Against Dingirsu, for example, if you've got multiple back row set that you can chain whenever you like, then you don't care which one they send. They send a back row, you've still got the other one, you can chain it whenever you like, and then you can summon Multifaker. So for example, let's say that your options were Floodgate Trap Hole, I don't know, and some other back row that you can chain whenever. You kind of really want to use the Floodgate now because they summon the Dingirsu, but then they get rid of the other back row, which could have been more useful later, and you've summoned to use the Multifaker. But if you've got 2 back row that you can use whenever you like, as I said, it doesn't matter which one they send. You still get Multifaker later, whenever you want. And these Limit 3 traps, they are both powerful and impactful, and they can be chained basically whenever, because they can target your own monsters. So if you got Linkaribo chilling in your extra monster zone, for example, you've searched your Multifaker when you linked where you Meluseek, and they threaten one of these, you can just use it on your own Linkaribo if there's no other chance, and no other choice, and you still get your Multifaker summon. So these are my favorite Limit 3s for that particular reason. I only own 1 Lost Wind, but I actually think Lost Wind is better than Compulsory Evacuation Device. We already have this effect in Silquidus, so it's a bit redundant to have more. It's not totally redundant though, because having more bounce effects is still good. It's not like it's a bad thing to compulse your opponent's monsters most of the time. It's a bit awkward against Striker. A Lost Wind, however, has some really great applications, which I think are most exemplified against Phantom Knights. So if you're against Phantom Knights, you mentioned go first, you mentioned said Lost Wind. Your back row against Phantom Knights often gets consumed before you really want to use it because of Phantom Knights of Breaksword, which is their rank 3, which pops one of their cards and one of your cards, and they often get rid of your back row, which will force you to use your back row, and the point they're doing this is too early to interrupt them. They can still keep extending through your interruption most of the time. And so you kind of just have to eat the back row losses. You still use them to slow them down a little bit. Maybe they can't make the perfect end board now, and you get your Multifaker triggers. The point is you survive, and along the way you get your Lost Wind back. because it comes back when they summon from the extra deck, which they're going to do. What this means is now the Multifaker that's in your hand, which is probably in your hand because you went Multifaker into Silquidus bounced the Multifaker to bounce one of their things. You've got a trap ready to use immediately. You can use it on their Requiem Dragon, which would otherwise negate your Multifaker. It's negated, now Multifaker triggers. They can attempt to negate it, but it's not going to work. And then Multifaker can find Meluseek, for example. And then you can make Hextia, Meluseek can find a Puqueri, you can make a Link 3 or a second Hextia, you haven't even normal summoned yet. Hexia's going to search, it can search the normal summon, such as Marionetta. So that in this case, for example, you go Multifaker finds Meluseek, you make Hextia, you find Puqueri, let's say you turn Hextia into Prime Banshee, you find Marionetta, you normal the Marionetta, you get a Manifestation, and then if you had one other monster in play, so if you ended their turn with a single monster in play, now you can kill them if you think it's safe enough, because you can use the Marionetta to turn the other monster into the Hextia that's in your graveyard, and then you link away the Prime Banshee and the Marionetta into Memory Gant. Hextia is pointing to Memory Gant, and you get this huge island. This is a good segue into Memory Gant, I guess. You have a 4300 Hextia because it's pointing to a 2800 monster, and when Memory Gant attacks, it can tribute the Hextia becomes 7100 and potentially attack twice in a row, which is just absolutely ridiculous. That's 14 to 18,000 attack points worth of damage in a 4000 life point format. And that's basically all you need to know about Memory Gant, actually, since we're here. So Memory Gant is our Borrelow's Dragon. The key difference, like, it fulfills the exact same role as Borreload Dragon. It outs things like the Lunar Lights, which are just huge, untargetable, indestructible monsters. We just have an even huger monster. And 71 is normally enough to OTK through, and then OTKs through a attack position Blue Eyes. Maybe it won't OTK through one attack against a Lunar Light, but nevertheless, you still kill them. The key difference between this and Borreload is that it is an Altergeist, and so using Multifaker doesn't lock you out of assembling Memory Gant like it does Borreload. There's not much more to say about Memory Gant. Just for full disclosure, exactly what it does, so you totally understand, is during the battle phase, quick effect, you contribute one other monster, and it gains the attack of the tribute monster's attack on the field. And when it destroys a monster by battle, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, it can attack again in a row. And it's got some light protection. If it will be destroyed, you can banish one monster from your graveyard instead. So it's just huge. It exists to be huge, and it does that role very well. It doesn't always come up, but it's amazing when it does. Jumping back now to my main deck changes, I've managed to squeak in an extra magical dimension. This card is so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So it's hard removal, it dodges effect negation, and it also extends you, all in one little package. And it's an honorary trap. The whole reason this deck cares about traps is because of Multifaker. Multifaker says if you activate a trap, you can special summon this card from your hand. So Altergeists are a trap deck specifically because traps let them special summon Multifaker from their hand. What does Magical Dimension do? Special summon one spellcaster type monster from your hand, such as Multifaker. So it doesn't matter that it's another trap if its effect does the whole thing that we care about traps being traps is for, if that makes sense. But it's also a quick play, so we can use it on our turn. It's insane. This can lead to some really good openings, but the reason I'm running 2 now is because against Phantom Knights, if they go first, you kind of have to draw an out to their board state, and Magical Dimension is a potential out. So, because Phantom Knights, the Requiem Dragon, that's a bit spooky, but whatever, we can usually deal with it with some back row or something. It's their Evil Swarm support that they splash in there, which lets them target 2 cards and return them to our hand, which means you need really specific hands to overcome that, because if you have 2 back row set, for example, you can't use your Meluseek because they'll just negate it with Requiem. I mean, you can attack with the Meluseek, I mean, you can't link it away. And then they just bounce you whatever 2 back row you set. So you need 3 back row set. You already need the Multifaker because they're going to negate the search from for the Multifaker. Probably. I mean, if they don't have anything like Book of Moon to stop your Meluseek, you can actually just attack with the Meluseek, and then they might bounce the Meluseek instead. I mean, if they bounce Magic, you still get a multi-faker. Like, it can be iffy. There are hands where you still manage to make it through, but having an out just makes it so much easier. And those outs can take many forms. For me, it's Magical Dimension and 1-for-1. 1-for-1 is an indirect out by just extending through all of their craziness. Kaijus are another out. They're pretty blatant. You just kaiju over the monster that's giving you trouble. And I saw a deck on Reddit from a user called, I think, Wolfenstein. And they use Altergeists Overwrite with Kaijus, and they got to cog with it. So obviously different things work for different people. I'm not saying mine is the absolute best list, but this is the list that works for me. They can Kaiju the opponent's monster, special summon a Kaiju to their own field, turn it into an Altergeist with Altergeist Overwrite, and then extend that way. Which is cute, and that's cool. It didn't really work for me. I actually tried a deck with a few Kaijus in it, and I took note of how often the Kaijus were detrimental to me compared to what they would have been. Like, I put in the red one and the purple one, and just like, okay, the red one is a silk, the purple one is a manifestation, for example. And it just screwed me most of the time. Sure, it was a small sample size, but I did not enjoy it. I actually got to cog with the Kaijus in the deck, but they were more of a hindrance than a help. They were never relevant, but I had a weird cog rank up anyway. So what did I cut for the second Magical Dimension? So because I wanted to increase my outs, I wanted to cut Engine, because it didn't make sense to cut an out to add an out. When my whole plan was to increase the density of outs in my deck. And Manifestation was just the least painful cut by that point. I mean, you look at anything else. Could you cut a Meluseek? Maybe that's possibly the only other thing, but 2 Meluseek, 3 Manifestation feels a bit weird compared to 3 Meluseek, 2 Manifestation. I think it's much better this way around. So that's what I ended up cutting. It does hurt a little bit. I still prefer having 3 Manifestation in general, but 2 is fine. You can still work with 2. Oh, something else about Overwrite, which I didn't mention before. You can replace Security Dragon when you've got Overwrite, because Security Dragon exists to turn this into a down arrow from Artemis, but you can just turn Artemis into a Fiji alert with Overwrite anyway, so it doesn't matter. Also, another thing about Magical Dimension is Artemis is a spellcaster, so you can go Meluseek link into Artemis, not link Rebo, get your Meluseek search, and if you've got Magical Dimension, then you can trigger it with your Artemis. So that's nice as well. And yeah, it can lead some good turns, which I think I've already talked about, where you go like Meluseek Magical Dimension, you just summon the Multifaker from your hand, which can summon whatever at this point. The Meluseek finds a Query, that's already 3 link materials. And if you went second, you get to pop one of their cards too. Yeah, so I think that's everything with the deck. I've explained my entire thought processes behind everything. I hope this helps you guys. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, any suggestions as well. I absolutely adore when people suggest cards. Sometimes it is things I've already tried as, thank you, but I've already tried that one. It didn't work for me, it might work for you. Or it might be something which I've never thought of, like Magic Deflector was one I got from comments from one of you guys. And I played it a lot before Meluseek came off the limit list. It was really good against Sky Strikers, against zombies, against Blue Eyes. Yeah, and this card can be activated at any time, which is why I used it, and it just happened to hit a lot of the meta. And that comment was suggested well before this meta, and it stuck with me, so thank you. I really appreciate your guys' feedback. Alright, hope that's good. Thanks for watching. You have a good rest of your day.